What's going on, my Light Ones? It's your boy Mosh DMC, and we're back again. As you can tell, the idea of shaving my beard did not last too long because it grows back pretty fast. An interesting note is when your beard grows back, it tends to itch, and I feel like I've had the itch for the last couple days. It sounded weird when I say it out loud, but I'm not gonna edit this out. I'm just gonna keep it in there. But we move. Today we're gonna be talking about the clown to the king. The interesting note about One Piece is that it has a vast set of characters, from a dog that wants to protect his snacks to a drunk dragon who tends to get stronger the more he drinks. Go figure. But today we're not going to be talking about either of those. We're going to be talking about Buggy the Clown. Yes, one of the most infamous pirates there is out there right now. And today, I brought along my tablet. Hopefully it's in the camera. All the cameras on. But I brought out my tablet because I had a lot of talking points I wanted to hit on this video. So let's get right into it. One thing about Buggy is all the connection he has. To be honest, out of all the people in One Piece, besides maybe Luffy himself, I mean, you could talk about Big Mom too, Kaido as well, but Buggy has either interacted with a lot of these people, or he has a lot of these people under him, or he has some possible connection to some of them some way. May not be a personal connection, could maybe just be some similarities, but for the most part, Buggy the Clown does get around. That was a bad joke, but we move. And one of the main connections we're going to start off talking about is Law. Law, you may ask, why does he have a connection with Law? I mean, it's not really a personal connection, but at the same time, isn't his Devil Fruit, or the semblance of his Devil Fruit, or the power his Devil Fruit has, doesn't that remind you of Law's Devil Fruit? Everything within his room he can control. And when you think about Buggy and his Devil Fruit, yes, the Chop Chop Fruit, it's really interesting because, yes, he can separate his body, but also, let's take it a step further. If Buggy were to awaken his Devil Fruit, wouldn't he be able to essentially chop all the environment around him in half and basically control that, since he's able to control anything he chops, mainly just his body part? But we know with Paramecia Awakenings, you basically enforce the power you have upon your body to your other surroundings. And we're just waiting for other awakenings to possibly confirm that, but for now, that's a talking point. Another interesting thing about Buggy is his red nose. You see, his red nose isn't like a decoration. Like, his red nose is physically his red nose. And it reminds me a little bit of Chopper, and how Chopper was different than all the reindeer, and how he was like castricized, or like basically isolated from them. Buggy's not really isolated because of his red nose, but at the same time, it does add like that in, can't think of the word, but like a very interesting note about Buggy, and how, like, what is his past? What kind of race is he? Because we know in One Piece there's a long arm tribe, there's the long nose tribe. So why can't there be a red nose tribe? And it's interesting because basically the red nose signifies the fact that he is a clown, and he's had that red nose since he was a child. And we don't know if the red nose in itself is a disease, because we know that he did get sick when he got closer to the red line. It could be a situation where his nose gets redder, or his face gets redder to match his nose the closer he gets to treasure. Because one thing about Buggy is that from the beginning, we've known he's always wanted to be a true pirate. The essence of a pirate is getting booty. My man would love that ass, you know? But at the same time, we don't really know if the red nose is anything like, isn't like a semblance or a description or the actual appearance of the special tribe in One Piece. Just like how red hair, like, to be honest, we only know a few characters with red hair. We know Shanks, we know Kid, we know Rockstar, so we have a couple of people with red hairs. But red nose, that's where it gets interesting. But we move. I also wanted to talk more about his connection with Law, but then moving forward, I also want to talk about his connection with Shanks. To be honest, in the Viz translations, I don't know if it was corrected or was a mistranslation, but it said that Shanks was the blood brother of Shanks was the blood brother of Buggy. And that really adds a lot of intrigue to me, because we know from the scene when Rayleigh said that it was been a long time since we held a baby or had a baby on the ship. And it could be interesting that we may have like a Asta Yuno situation where both Shanks and Buggy were both kids on the boat at one time. They possibly came from two different areas, and how they basically grew up together, and that's how they grew that brotherly bond. Just like how Asta and Yuno have that brotherly bond, but at the same time, they don't really know their parents. But who knows? Maybe we might find out who their parents are later on. Some people are speculating that Rox D. Xebec is actually the father of Buggy. I mean, that would be pretty darn interesting, and we don't really know what Rox looks like, but we move. And speaking of rocks, I'm glad I actually mentioned it, because on Hachinosu, right, the skull-shaped island, the reason why that holds such significance is because of the storyline for Buggy. And that holds another connection to Buggy. Basically, Buggy was looking for the treasure of Captain John. We know Captain John was also on the Rocks Pirates. We know that Pirate Island was also the base for the Rocks Pirates. And the skull, or the island they went to find Captain John's treasure the first time was a Skull Island, and that Skull Island actually later on led him to be trapped in Impel Down. And to be honest, him being trapped in Impel Down sort of led him to getting another clue for Captain John's treasure. So it's interesting all these components with Buggy because technically Buggy's basically getting the Usopp Luffy treatment. Every time we see Buggy on camera or on screen, he gains another essence to his character, or another layer to his character, and it just keeps on snowballing to this point where we have to really think about if Buggy has all these connections to not only the main storyline but all these other characters in the storyline. It adds significance that his character is going to be very important moving forward. And I just can't wait to order to actually unravel it just a little bit more because right now the warlord system is being abolished. And to be honest, it's sort of counterintuitive to what Buggy wanted to begin with. Buggy was just like this low pirate. He just wanted to remain low, not really known to the world. He had connections to Roger. He has connections to Shanks. He had a Devil Fruit. He had maps of treasure. He had pirate crew. He had hold over a whole town. Like Buggy was his pirate, but at the same time, he did not want to be known or use these things to be known too much. And because of that, I'm interested now that he's now out in the real world that what's going to happen to Buggy. Is his bounty going to increase? Is he going to escape from the Marines? Is he going to join another faction? Is he going to get people to join his faction? All these questions need to be answered. And to be honest, I'm going to touch upon a couple of them in this video, but I want to get back to that Hachinosu point. The fact that he knew of Captain John's treasure, he knew that it had to be somewhere on a Skull Island, and the only other Skull Island that's really significant in the story is Hachinosu, and that's where the Rocks Pirates were, like I mentioned, but also Captain John was part of the Rocks Pirates. So with the armband that was given to him by Luffy, is it possible that he could know a little bit more about actual Captain John's treasure and that what's technically underneath there? And it'd be really interesting that it maybe be a poneglyph, maybe it is riches, but we have no idea. And that's the interesting part about how Buggy plays into this whole thing, because with that treasure, we know that he has some escape route, or he has some way to get somewhere else without actually being noticed, or no, he has some means of getting somewhere else that holds a significant place or part in the story. But let's look at the tablet again and see what else we want to talk about with Buggy. See, I remember some of them by memory, but at the same time, you know, it's good to write notes. Oh, okay, let's talk more about Usopp. You see, Usopp has an act of his lies come true, and the interesting part about his lies coming true is that we don't know how. Maybe it is like a power that he has, like conquers Haki. No, okay, let me explain this a little bit more before you guys call me crazy. Usopp conquers Haki doesn't make sense. Let me explain it. So basically, how I've been talking about in a couple of videos of mine now, that the power to command, and how if you combine the voice of all things and conquers Haki together, you basically gain the power to command. Yes, we know Usopp doesn't have the voice of all things, and yes, we know Usopp doesn't have conquers Haki currently. But at the same time, Usopp has like a knack to possibly tell the future, and we've seen a couple people be able to tell the future right now, and that is Hawkins. The mermaid. I forgot I'm blanking on the mermaid's name. I'm a fake One Piece fan right now. Shirley? I think it's Shirley. I'll get back to you. It was like Charlie, something like that. I still can't pronounce it properly. But it's like Charlie or Charlotte. The mermaid, the one that was able to tell the future of Luffy destroying Fishman Island. But that one. But basically, the more Buggy talks and the more we see him on panel or on screen, it's like he's almost like predicting things that are going to happen to him, or almost like speaking things into existence, almost like. And one of the first things that he said was that Luffy said he's going to be the king of the pirates. And then Buggy was like, I'm going to be the god of the pirates then. But he also said, I'm going to find the grandest treasure of them all in One Piece, but also that is the One Piece. But the interesting note is that we don't really know what Captain John's treasure is. And if it technically is the Road Poneglyph, it may get to become a situation where now Buggy's being inserted into the main storyline. He has a Road Poneglyph, but the other ones are located Wano. Interesting, does Buggy show up in Wano? Brook has one. Big Mom has one. Does he go to Whole Cake Island? And we don't know. Well, the last one is on Zunisha. How does he get to Zunisha? And that's why it adds a little bit more intrigue, because as we know, the Marines did, or the world government did send people out to go capture the warlords. And if Buggy was captured, you know, it may be interesting if he's actually on one of the world government ships right now headed to Wano. But if that's the case, he could possibly get away, and then that sort of adds implications to him possibly getting the Road Poneglyphs. And that's just Buggy's luck. Buggy's luck is it's like two sides of a coin. Sometimes he's really lucky, sometimes he's not too lucky. But at the same time, Buggy does get away with a lot of things. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is the power that has been talked to us at Marineford. And I also wanted to talk about Buggy's connection to Mihawk. And the interesting note about that is how Mihawk sort of without knowingly, Mihawk told us more about Buggy, and we didn't really know it until now in Wano. One thing about Devil Fruits is that if your hockey's strong enough, you can negate a Devil Fruit. And the Chop Chop Fruit was basically the Enel, the Luffy Enel to Mihawk. He's not able to cut Buggy because of the Chop Chop Fruit. But if Mihawk's supposed to be the strong swordsman, obviously he has hockey. And people are saying, "Oh, Mihawk wasn't trying," but in the same breath, Mihawk said that his power holds no restraint, as he almost cut the tsunami that was frozen by Aokiji in half, trying to go after Luffy. So now, why would he hold back against Buggy now that Buggy is a ex-convict and he's trying to show his stuff to the world government or the Marines, saying that, hey, listen, I'm still here, I'm still doing my job, like let me have this title, you know? And then moving forward, Mihawk then mentioned a power that Luffy has. Luffy basically has a power to galvanize the troops. He has a power that, without knowingly, he's able to make people want to aid him. It's not his power or his tactics or his thinking. He just has his natural ability to garner people and gather people around him. And then look at Buggy. In the same sentence, Buggy was doing the same exact thing. Like from the beginning, he got Alvida. Alvida was the first villain that faced Luffy. He got Mr. 3. Master 3 was part of Baroque Works. He got the Impel Down prisoners, even one in Impel Down level 5, who was pretty strong. And then later on, he gains a mercenary group, having people like Hyrule and the Giants work for him, being the SSS class mercenaries. And now you're thinking, okay, Buggy not only has the power to galvanize troops, but he also has the power to, he also has hockey, some type of hockey strong enough to possibly go toe to toe with Mihawk. I don't know. Mihawk versus Buggy. I mean, when you think about it, can Mihawk really do damage to Buggy? The Chop Chop Fruit is always going to keep getting chopped. So I don't know. It's neither here nor there. Like I said, Buggy has been getting the Luffy treatment, and the Usopp treatment. And as it snowballs, we get more of an inclination that Buggy is going to be a very important character in this show. And to be honest, out of all the Roger Pirates, he was technically the only one besides Shanks that really did not get to go to Laugh Tale. And because of that, he may be the one Roger Pirate that goes to Laugh Tale when it's time to go to Laugh Tale. So it's neither here nor there, but Buggy's a very interesting character. Another connection I'm going to drop on you right now is Who's Who and Shanks. Well, technically, they're both one and the same. But basically, how Shanks is always in the right place at the right time. And it's an interesting note because Shanks was able to capture or steal the fruit from Who's Who. Who's Who was then imprisoned. 12 years later, his life is basically ruined, but now he's on the Beast Pirates. Same thing with Buggy. Buggy found the treasure map. He found a devil fruit worth 100 million berries. He was set for life. Then Shanks comes around. Buggy eats the fruit. Buggy loses the treasure map. And now Buggy holds a grudge against the Straw Hat. Same thing with Who's Who. He holds a grudge every time he sees the Straw Hat. Basically, that was the interaction between Who's Who and Jinbei. And that was the interaction was seen with Buggy and Luffy the first time they saw each other. But so it's interesting to see how Buggy's slowly gaining all these connections and that he's not going to be a main character later on. No, he is. But right now, one thing that interests me the most is that Buggy needs a stronger crew. Yes, he has the mercenaries, but the mercenaries can go so far. Yes, he has the prisoners, but look, the prisoners can go so far. Moji's like fat now, I think. Like his crew right now is not up to snuff. And for a person who may even take over a Yonko mantle strictly because he has that mercenary group behind him, strictly because he has the name of being part of the Straw Hat, the Roger crew, knowing Silver's Rayleigh, knowing Shanks. Speaking of Silver's Rayleigh, he has a connection with Rayleigh, and the thing is, he sort of wants to meet Rayleigh too. It's not like he just like completely like disregards Rayleigh, because when Rayleigh was mentioned, he's like, "Oh, how's he doing?" Luffy's like, "Oh, he's doing well." So it'll be pretty interesting that right now, Rayleigh knows about what's going on in the world. And he knows that things are starting to snowball. And the thing is, he knows that this year is the year things are supposed to go down because he was there. He knew that the Roger Pirates were too early. So it'll be really interesting to see Rayleigh actually take action and possibly go and aid Buggy in a sense, and then becoming Buggy's ally. Because one thing Doflamingo mentioned is that who will ally with who? Now that I'm not holding the reins back on the monsters, where will people go? And the thing is, we know Doflamingo has connections. I'll say that for another video. Honestly, if you guys aren't following, me and Parvision are having a series of One Piece videos, and if I mention too much, I'll get myself in trouble. But just know, Doflamingo, Rayleigh, Sabaody, all important. But I keep on moving. But his connection to Rayleigh possibly comes and saves Buggy, but also another person that is right out there that we don't know much about, and that's Caesar the Clown. You see, the reason why Caesar is so important right now is because he's basically a genius with the means of manipulating devil fruits, with the means of poison gas, with the means of ghastly weapons. And when you think about Buggy's mercenary group, is that He was supplying weapons to people. And now that Doflamingo's gone, he basically took over that mantle now of supplying. And if he gains someone who can possibly aid him in his supply chain, not only certain weapons but different types of weapons, wouldn't it also aid his pirate crew? So now to buff up Buggy's pirate crew, I think it would be a perfect plant to actually Caesar to run into Buggy, strictly because how they're both, well, Caesar the clown, Buggy the clown, they both have that clown epithet in a sense, but also Caesar would then be able to almost like amplify Buggy's Muggy Ball or his Buggy Ball now. Speaking of Buggy Ball, another durability feat to add to Buggy's list. Buggy shot a Buggy Ball directly at one of the Awakened Zones on Impel Down, right? It basically knocked him unconscious for a little bit. Didn't knock him on his feet, but knocked him out. And then Buggy later on took that same Buggy Ball to the face from Mihawk. And he was fine later on. Yes, he was sort of beaten up. He had that little smile with his tooth missing. But at the same time, Buggy has some feats. You can't sleep on Buggy. Like, Buggy really is a strong character in One Piece. I mean, he may be hiding his strength, and then later on, he's just going to show the people, like, remember, he said when he gets serious, it gets pretty scary. Same thing about Shanks. And if the person that wanted to kick Whitebeard's head, he knows Whitebeard is strong, but at the same time, Buggy said he wanted to do it. That was a little interesting to me. But then he also saw Shanks, and he wanted to fight Shanks on the spot because of everything he did to him earlier on. I mean, Buggy may be hiding his power, but we move from past that. If Caesar were to draw in Buggy, not only does his crew get a big buff, it's just like in strength they gain a Logia type user, but they gain someone who knows Devil Fruits and who's helped someone with a ball before. He helped Chopper with his Rumble Ball, can now increase the span of how long he can use it. Now you add Caesar to Buggy, then you're giving Buggy more like chemical weapons or other just weapons for him in his arsenal, and that possibly can aid him. Maybe he might be able to make him a Suedo Rumble Ball, and then Buggy can like transform or alter his body in some way, shape, or form, because already with the Chop Chop Fruit, he can already do that. And now imagine with the Chop Chop Fruit and how you basically can almost like fill in hockey where space is. Now imagine how Buggy uses that giant sheet to make himself look big. Now imagine he like flows hockey through that like some Rio, and like he literally just makes himself like a huge giant. You know, like I don't know, like Buggy low key can be broken. Like I'm not trying to sleep on Buggy because of his awakening and he's able to use hockey to a certain extent. Buggy may be one of the most broken characters in all of One Piece. I don't know. He might have like a red nose attack and like strictly just charge at someone and hits them, and you have Conqueror's hockey combined with it. But who knows? Let's going to digress. Let's check the next thing we got to talk about. The Tablet of Truth. That's what I'm gonna call it. We talked about the treasure. We talked about Usopp, his true strength, and his potential Devil Fruit, and Mihawk. What's next for his crew additions? We talked about Caesar and why Wano. Okay, we talked about Wano too, and how knowing about hockey and knowing about who's who, that sort of ties with that. So what's next for Buggy? And this is how I'm gonna close the video. What's Buggy's next bounty going to be? Right? To be honest, let's add some things up. Right? We have, he knows Roger. I mean, he was on Roger's crew. They say he's a blood relative to Shanks, or he's just related to Shanks or has connections to Shanks. So that's going to tack on. He was a mercenary group, so that's going to tack on. He was a warlord, but then an ex-warlord, so that's going to tack on. He has connections to Rayleigh, so that's going to tack on. He possibly may garner galvanize Caesar into his troops, so that might tack on. If they find out he has Captain John's treasure, that's going to tack on. So to be honest, and this is not too far-fetched, I can't remember Buggy's original bounty, but moving forward, I think Buggy is going to at least, Buggy and Boa are both two interesting characters, and just because they saw how much they wanted to take out Portraits de Rouge because she was the mother, Buggy was an apprentice on the Roger Pirates, and I feel as though now that the semblance of the Roger Pirates are all over the place, they know Rayleigh, but they're not really going to mess with Rayleigh, but they know of Buggy. And they probably don't know the potential of his strength. But remember at the Marineford, he said, I don't know how a pirate of your caliber with all these accolades remain under the radar for so long, but now that we have you in our sights, we're not going to let you go. I feel as though it was not too far-fetched to see Buggy actually surpass Luffy's current bounty. Like, because of his mercenary group and because he has connections to Yonkos and other powerful figures in the world, and that was why talking about the connections earlier on in the show, in the video, was actually imperative. I feel as though Buggy may elevate to at least 2 point something. I can't remember his current bounty, so I'm gonna go look it up. I'll be right back. And we're back. So Buggy, get over here. So Buggy's bounty is 15 million berries right now. And to be honest, so I feel as though his bounty may increase to like 1.5 to like 2 billion. And I'm thinking about it more. The reason why I want his bounty to be so high is because Buggy technically is a very interesting character, but he's also is a force in the One Piece world in the connection he has, but also in the position that he's in. And to be honest, the way it's looked at with pirates and their bounties is that how much of a threat they are to the world government or the Marines. And Buggy being an ex-Roger pirate, but Buggy also being part of the mercenary group or being the head of the mercenary group adds a lot of implications because now that they're going after the warlords, this is the Marines basically declaring war on the pirates. And the power balance is cut. There's no more warlords. So now you have the Marines and the SSG versus just all pirates and the Yonkos. And right now, the Yonkos are going to be toppled. Kaido's gone. Big Mom may be gone. And because of that, I don't think we're going to have the Yonko system anymore, but we may have the Emperor system now. And how the worst generation might be one bulk of it, and how the warlords or the ex-warlords are going to be another bulk of it, and how the revolutionaries may be another bulk of it. And because of his connection to the mercenary groups, they're going to need people or more forces to possibly go after these pirates. Because as you've seen, they're stretched thin just going after the warlords. Now imagine them having to fight against the worst generation, having with the worst generation and their fleet. The warlords, if they got away, the revolutionaries who are now making a move with Sabo going to declare war directly at the Celestial Dragons, they're going to need some extra forces. And this is why mercenaries sort of play a factor in it. And if Buggy was like the head guy hiring all these mercenaries or giving all these jobs to the mercenaries, that might tack on a little bit more, because if they can capture Buggy, they're basically they capture the ringleader of the mercenaries, right? So 1.5 to 2 billion isn't that bad. And speaking more about on the bounties of the people, the more I think about bounties and how technically they may be useless, but maybe not. So think about it like in the mind of Mosh real quick. With bounties, right? There's really not bounty hunters who's strong enough to go capture Whitebeard or Kaido. But we do have level 6 info down. So there is a fact that people do somehow apprehend these pirates in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it is other pirates that defeat them, like the Straw Hats. But for some reason, I don't feel like that's always the case. And they may be mercenaries that do it. There may be some strong bounty hunters that we haven't seen or canonly seen, anime only. But there could be Marines that may actually get the job done, but what the Marines get from the bounty? I mean, what do Marines get for bringing the pirates in? Maybe they may get an elevation in status. Maybe they may get the actual bounty reward. But another thing I was thinking about is that maybe they get a devil fruit in return. And this is like some things that the vice admirals or other admirals, vice admirals or other or captains or rear captain used to do. They were bringing these highly touted pirates, and they would be rewarded with a devil fruit. And now that you're rewarded with the devil fruit, not only does your power increase, but technically your power increases, and you have some accolades under your belt. Now your position increases, and that's technically how maybe some of them actually elevated all the way up to admiral level, being trained by other Marines, and then they take over the mantle of other Marines because they're just as powerful. Aokiji Garp is a perfect example. But it's really interesting to see how things are going to play out a little bit further. And another faction that I want to introduce to people, I don't want people to like shun off real quick, and I'm gonna say this for a later video, but it also ties into this video, our Parvision video, me and Parvision's collaboration video, but Enel and the Sky People, right? And this is I'm just gonna talk about the chapter 1037 real quick. So spoiler alert. I'll give you a couple seconds. If you didn't get out of here, that means you want to be spoiled. Done. The Gorosei talk about a devil fruit that's even unknown to them for centuries and not unknown, but they haven't seen it in centuries and centuries, or hasn't awakened in centuries and centuries, but it's a legend to them. Okay. I don't know why I messed it up so bad. It's a legend to them, and it hasn't awakened in centuries and centuries. And I have 5 current thoughts on what it could possibly be. Brook's devil fruit, Kid's devil fruit, Luffy's devil fruit, Toki's devil fruit, but also Enel's devil fruit. And the only thing I have to figure out right now, and I am going to in my next video, I'm actually going to talk about it a lot, is Enel possibly coming back, his ties to Wiper and his ties to Yarouge, and how they may all be a very big force coming up later on, and how basically Enel has an army. Technically, the Skypeans or the Shandians, Skypeans and the Shandians are all an army, and also how Yarouge has his monks. So I'm going to talk about them, but the reason why I think it's going to play a a significant point in the story moving forward is because now we're getting all the moon lore, and now we're actually adding possibly Zunisha to the mix of Wano, and all that lore is going to have to, I keep saying galvanize, I guess that's the word for the day, galvanize, all come together in one portion to move forward, or like at least to connect all the dots. And I feel as though Enel is a big piece in that. And Enel's Devil Fruit possibly awakening could be that situation. I don't know. But his Devil Fruit may not be a Logia, but maybe a mythical zone that has the properties of a Logia, like we see like we seen with why can I think? Why can I think? Oh, Katakuri. But also when you think about it, say Enel did eat the Devil Fruit and then it was a mythical zone model Raijin, right? Technically, in a sense, he gains the Raijin drums and he is a Logia user. No, he technically is a mythical zone user, but he has the powers of power of mantra, and basically he was using his mantra like Katakuri was using his advanced observation, and how that may play a factor in it. But that's neither here nor there. And his awakening could possibly bring the devastation to the world. But why would they talk about it is the next question. But I went way up track with this video. But basically, I was talking about the Marines versus the Pirates and how Buggy may actually be a very significant force in the Pirates versus Marines battle because of the knowledge he knows, the people he's connected to, and the treasure that lies dormant waiting to be found. Besides that, like I said at the end of every single video, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell button to remain enlightened. No, I messed that up. That's not. It's been a while since I did this. So let's, like I said at the end of every single video, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell button to remain notified, and come back next time to remain enlightened, y'all. Peace.